You're now listening to N21FM, a Pokemon podcast. I'm your host, Glenn Seaman, joined now officially long-term by Johnny Sushi, who is my co-host now. Previous guest, now upgraded to co-host of the show. Johnny, how you doing tonight?
Doing all right, hanging in there. Trying to get over a cold, but we've made it through the holidays, and happy to be here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Always.
Yeah, happy New Year! It's 2025 now. We made it this far. It's going to be our year. It's the year of the events of Black Ops 2. So hopefully, I mean, the bar's pretty low as long as we don't get taken over by any insane terrorists or anything like that. A la Black Ops 2. Then I think that's at least a decent standard to live up to.
For sure.
Oh man. So before we begin, real quick, there's a substantial amount of housekeeping to go over. First and foremost, like, comment, subscribe. If you're on Spotify, leave us a good review. It is the most effective way to engage with this content, other than something that I'm about to tell you about. If you're watching this the day after it goes up, it's because you're watching it on Patreon. Patreon is a brand new, well, the Patreon's not brand new, but I made a Patreon for the show so that you can get early access, as well as access to bonus episodes and also a bonus show that we're going to start doing. The bonus episodes are kind of separate from that show. That show is going to be called N21Plus, where we're discussing more what it's like to be an adult playing this otherwise considered a kid's game. Hence the 21 plus on the label. It writes itself. I'm really excited about it though. It's super cool. So be sure to pop on over to patreon.com/terminalcreative to get a look at that and see what that's going to be about. Anything else? Just early access to every episode, as well as the bonus show and the bonus episodes, which are going to be a little different. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, I think that's about it for the housekeeping stuff. I really want to dive right into our topic today because it's a big one. I'm really excited about it. Johnny, what do we have planned for the folks at home today?
So we're looking at today getting our top cards of 2024 for the Pokemon TCG, which I'm pretty excited about. I know you're pretty excited about it. There's
absolutely
definitely a lot of cards that came out that were absolutely insane this year. I mean,
so many good cards.
The year of the Ace spec, the year
True.
of some of the highest priced cards we've seen in like standard. You know?
Oh, true.
So it's
I didn't even think about from a value perspective, right? Making my list. I didn't even think about how stuff costs.
I did not consider value at all in terms of cost, so don't worry about that.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
if I was gonna do value, that would probably be a different list. But
it's funny you say that. I was looking at trying to find another list similar to this, just to kind of like compare what I wrote down to other people's stuff, and all of them were like, "What are the most valuable cards from 2024?" It's like that's not.
Yep.
No, I need what I need a player's opinion.
Yeah,
unfortunately. The only one up was actually Celios Network, who I historically just disagree with on many topics. I don't have beef with the guy. I've never met him, but shout out Celios Network. Go watch his stuff. See what he says on his list, and then comment that we sent you, and that I think he's wrong. Don't actually do that, please. Don't do that, please, or do. I don't care. You have free will. We're starting off the 2025 era with vitriol. I'm ready for it.
Creator Sphere beef. Let's go.
That's how we blow up. Actually, we start beef with all the. Listen, this is officially now a Tricky Jim call out podcast.
Oh man,
we're casting our net wide here. Oh man, sweet. So let's just dig right into it. I don't have it written down. I lied to you. I deceived you.
Oof. Well,
wait.
Do you wanna
Did I
start
just?
from?
I think I just deleted the top 10 like a
Oh
buffoon.
no!
I remember
Oh,
what number 10 was though. I remember what number 10 was without question.
I was gonna say,
Uh,
do we wanna count down? Do we want to start at our number 10 and go up to number
Absolutely.
one?
Let's
Or
start at
okay,
number 10 and move up.
okay.
What do you have first in the
So
number 10 slot?
my number 10 is like this one feels weird, maybe a little out of place, and I don't think that it's gonna be. This wouldn't be on everyone's top 10.
Mhm.
I also might just be super biased because I kind of like this card. Um, but I had Dragapult EX actually at my number 10.
Ooh, okay.
And my reasoning was just kind of because like the card came out, it definitely wasn't amazing when it came out, but it had a glow up, you know?
Yeah.
It grew into something that there's a lot that people started to do just to respect this card.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um it's not a slouch. It definitely didn't start out hot. You know, you needed Neo Upper, which was just kind of tough. You needed the
Dude, Neo
Pidgeot.
Upper. It was either Neo Upper or you ran Zatu
Yeah.
like a clown.
Oh my god, the Zatu builds were just so slow.
I liked it. I played it and I felt really good about it.
It's
But
fun.
every time
Yeah.
I played against somebody who was running Pidgeot, I was like, oh, yeah, I
Yep.
wish I could just go get whatever I wanted every turn.
Yep. And then you had the Lost Box version, which just gets to do Lost Box, but also like it's not really great at either one. Like
Yeah.
it does Lost Box less
It doesn't do
efficient.
Lost of the Box very well. It doesn't do Dragapult very well.
Yeah, it's just a little too slow. And then we went from like a period of like, oh, it's not that great into Dragapult. Well, Dragapult came in with Drago, and Reggie Drago blowing up just suddenly made this card. I mean, people literally were joking that the best Dragapult EX decks were Reggie Drago decks.
Yeah,
when Reggie Drago started like blowing back up. And yeah, I think that because of that, because of just what happened with this card, I think it deserved at least like number 10 on the list. You know, it's strong, it spreads the damage around, and it really forced people to start thinking about how they wanted to play when they were playing on offense, and then how they wanted to play around the possibility of hitting something that ran Dragapult in some capacity. And having the fact that there's two completely separate decks now that play Dragapult, and there's like 2 or 3 variations of Dragapult that you can play right now.
Yeah.
That all of that together, I think, just makes this card kind of really good.
No, I 100% agree. Spoilers, I have Dragapult a good bit higher than 10th on my list. It's not top 5, but it is definitely on the list, and it's higher than 10. My 10th spot actually goes to Pikachu EX.
Ooh,
of all
okay.
things.
Full disclosure, I don't have Pikachu on my list.
That's totally fine. It's pretty cuttable. I think my top, maybe, like, I think we were talking about it before the show really started. Like, our top 4s are both pretty set in stone. We don't know each other's. By the way, for the folks at home, we don't know each other's lists. We are learning them for the first time as we're talking about them. But we talked beforehand about kind of like, it feels like the top 4 of both of us feel that our top 4s are very definitive. And if you don't include these cards in your top 4, you're probably trolling.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where I'm at with it too. But Pikachu EX, I think, added some cool stuff to the format. I don't think it's bananas, right? It's a cool card. It's a good card. And it slots into a couple of things very nicely. I think ultimately we've had a lot more impactful cards.
Yeah.
But, oh my gosh. By the way, we should preface. This is a little late to preface. But we're going off of the list of things that came out in 2024. Of all the things that came out in 2024, like Pikachu EX being a nuke for Lost Box to include, a way more efficient Terra for Miraidon to use with Area Zero.
Yeah.
Which is another good card. Not on my list, but a good card. and then like having just a ridiculous ability that literally power creeps an A spec.
Yeah.
It's a potent card. You'd be remiss to, I would be remiss at least to not at least have it in the conversation of impactful cards, because it's it's something that continues to show up in the meta. It's something that people do have to build their decks kind of around and understand that it exists in the format. It is an ever looming threat.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it kind of isn't higher on my list, but it's in the top 10 for me, just as a result of, just because it has so many things going for it that as soon as we get it figured out, it's going to be really, really good.
Oh yeah, 100%. I could totally see that. I mean, I'll be honest. I've already been itching to see how to make it better.
Yeah,
and that's why I'm really disappointed learn that, like, you know, we learned off Poke Beach that Blaziken EX is not going to be in Prismatic Evolutions, and because of that, I'm really disappointed. Like, Blaziken was the perfect kind of, oh, this is a thing that like Pikachu could use as like an attacker and be totally happy with as like some kind of like secondary attacker that powers it up. Honestly, kind of like one of those other like different ways to play it, missing pieces type cards.
Yeah, I still am of the firm belief that like Pikachu Blissey should be way better than it is. Because I think that would fill a similar void with Blaziken. I'll be totally real, I'm not on the Blaziken train at all. I don't see the vision, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, for sure.
We might be talking about that a little later, depending on how we're doing on time. But what do you have for number 2? I'm trying to salvage my memory for what I had in my top 10 right now. I think I got the top 6 nailed. Yeah. So I'm trying to go backwards in order, and while you give me your number 9, I'll kind of figure out my last 4.
So my number 9 was Latias EX, actually. Another new card, but Latias, like to me again, this is kind of a no-brainer pick. I almost wish I had it higher, but I feel like everything else above it, I think, maybe a little bit more impactful or a little more important, or have had like maybe just a better year, and this card hasn't been out long enough to kind of like dictate enough of that, I don't think. But it's still really good for the time that it's been out. I mean, it's Latias is just enabled, like, any deck now that runs basic Pokemon has free retreat for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
If you run a deck based around basic Pokemon, big basics, you have free retreat for 2 years. Like, this is just, it's free. It's free. And that's so cool, honestly. Like, you don't need to rely on you don't need to rely on the attack, although like if there's maybe, I don't know, decent psychic acceleration comes up, maybe this thing gets relevant with the attack, but probably not. Like 200 damage isn't, it's not a break point, so it doesn't really matter too much. But that ability, like, just no retreat cost, enables a lot of things for big basic decks, and then kind of just makes anything that has like a increase on retreat cost kind of deck like go out the window. I know those aren't like popular, but I mean, the fact is, like, if Spidops ever was going to be like a decent card,
if Spidops Gravity Crystal was ever going to be really good,
now it's not. It just like at least for a good chunk of decks in the meta now, it just never will be. Like, it's a straight up gamble, and it just makes that, like,
it also, funny enough, completely like mitigates the effects of what is it, Lycia's Appeal or whatever, the Gust Confuse card for basics only.
Yeah, absolutely.
What a weird thing to print, like, right next to each other. It's like,
pretty much,
hey, Gust and Confuse, but also like, just run this guy.
Yeah,
you'll be fine.
Exactly. Like, it just kind of it solves a lot of stuff for those kinds of decks.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
In such a fun way, such a comfortable way. It doesn't feel bad to like bench. It doesn't ever feel really like a liability. Because if your opponent's attacking this and they're not attacking like something that you've got powered up, then they're actively putting themselves probably in a worse situation in most cases. Not always,
Absolutely.
but most cases, they're probably putting themselves in a worse situation by not taking out your attacker. And on top of that, if it is a liability, we have other cards now that I know one of them that I'm going to mention much later. That is just kind of the solution to that too. So
yeah. I think I know what you're gonna say about that. Funny enough, Latias EX is also at my number 9 slot.
Hey.
It's everything you said it was. There is never a time when if you're playing a big basic deck, which they're very prominent and very good right now. If you're playing a big basic deck, you want Latias in there because it's so good. Just being able to retreat for free. So think back to like Keldeo EX, like Keldeo and what was it? Floatstone, Keldeo Floatstone, where you could just switch in and retreat out for free. Having the ability to pivot is so important in every deck, especially in big basic decks where you want to kind of like decide, okay, do I need to promote this this attacker that is in maybe like a weakened state, or do I need to send up a one prizer to bide time and hope that my opponent doesn't have a gust? And like you said, Latias never. I can think of exactly one circumstance where it feels really bad to have Latias in the on the bench, and that is if you're playing Roaring Moon EX and you just used Frenzied Gouging and you're playing against Dragapult EX. So now your opponent can gust your Latias and knock out Latias and Blood Moon, or not Blood Moon. What is his name? Roaring Moon.
Yeah.
And take 4 prizes in a turn. And that's like the only circumstance where I'm like, maybe this card is like feels bad to bench.
Well,
other than that, though, it feels great.
They still need 10 damage counters on the Latias before they do that, since it's got
210. It's 210. I forgot it's not even one of the babies. That's ridiculous. Never mind. Forget everything I said. It's good. It's a great card. It never feels bad to bench.
It makes for a 4 prize target. Potentially in that case.
But so does Squawk and Luminion.
Exactly.
And Mew Squawk, EX.
Fez, Luminion, Mew.
Fez,
all these things that already existed that, just kind of were targets as well. So
yeah, absolutely. It's a banger card. It's something I think is really good for the format to have, especially because so many of the big basic decks become worse in the next format or two.
Yeah.
I think because of that, it's a good tool for those decks to have, since they're going to be brought down a peg.
Yeah, they're all definitely going to need that kind of mobility, especially coming up now that we're losing some acceleration off of some of them. We're losing just options that they might have in terms of attacking V Pokemon, support V Pokemon, that kind of thing. So yeah, absolutely.
Not to mention with Badu item lock becoming prevalent in the next format, and it will rarely come up, but if you've got switches, you can't play them. If you've got Prime Catcher, you're not playing it. You have to have a way to move around your Pokemon, and if you don't, you're just not in a good spot. And not every deck runs Cleffa, so or Mew EX. In fact, Latias kind of takes the place of Mew EX in a lot of decks now.
It definitely does. And in such a nice way. I was actually reviewing my Miraidon deck recently, and I kind of was, as I'm looking through all the Pokemon I have in it, I'm like, man, I have this Mew in here still, and that almost feels bad.
It does feel bad.
I think I need to review Miraidon again and maybe cut that.
For sure.
I don't know. I'll try to figure that out, see what feels better.
Yeah.
But, banger.
No, I'm right there with you. Latias EX is a banger card, absolutely deserving of a number 9 slot. I don't think it's any higher than that. I think 9 is the perfect location for it, because there's some other incredible cards on this list, including my number 8 pick, Blood Moon Ursaluna EX. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I have full disclosure. I have Blood Moon Ursaluna a little higher. So
okay, that's fine. That's reasonable. I would like to.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So I would have put this higher, but my top 7, I just can't imagine being anything else. Blood Moon is an incredible attacker, and I think it'll go up when we lose Radzard.
Mhm.
But at the moment, like it's a good card. It goes above like a bunch. There's a lot of other cards fighting for space on this list. None of
Mhm.
them made it. And just being able to have that comeback mechanic, have that like attacker that's really good to close out a game, and have him be just beefy enough that he survives a couple hits here and there,
Mhm.
with strategic like back and forth gameplay in the fact that you can't attack again the next turn. It doesn't do enough damage to knock itself out, so you're not having like a Mewtwo War situation from the Black and
Mhm.
White era. I think it's a very well made, well balanced card, and they made it so that you don't get to just use TMs on it for free either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is it's a very well designed card. It's super potent. I don't see it being used all that much lately, which is why it didn't get any higher on my list. I see there's some decks that really exceptionally use it, like what's a good one? I mean, obviously, my current favorite deck in the format, Dusknoir Palkia, really loves Blood Moon because
Oh
you can
yeah.
have that prize manipulation, and then like pull out a crazy Dusknoir Ursaluna turn on a Charizard or a Dragapult and get a really awesome like close to the game. But I think with how big some of the numbers have gotten in the format and
Yeah.
how, especially with the prevalence of Regidrago V-Star right now, I think Blood
Yeah.
Moon is kind of taking a back seat until we're back in a situation where we've got either big basics or like really big like evolving decks. I think
Yeah.
those are, once we're in a more of a format where those are the main two contenders for meta picks and less of that middle ground stage 1 V-Star type
Yeah.
attacking deck, then I think Blood Moon will definitely go up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Um, I'll give my some more thoughts on that one in a bit. But at my
Yeah,
number 8, I actually had have our first trainer card for this.
yeah, let's
I've
hear
got
it.
Buddy Poffin actually,
Ooh,
and that I don't know if that's going to be in anybody else's lists, anybody else's like ideas of like, oh, what's worth like a top 10 card slot. But Buddy Poffin. So I guess we need to like throw this back to the previous format, right? We had Battle VIP
where
Pass,
is
which
it?
just kind of just ran everything. Like
It's such a
that,
good card.
it's a fantastic card. Battle VIP was strong, insanely strong, probably too strong,
Definitely too strong.
probably too strong for the time that it existed. Unfortunately, um,
It's a
and
goated
then
card right there. Oh,
knowing
you
that
can't
we
see
were
it.
going to, oh yeah, knowing that we were going to lose it is kind of like, okay, so what's next? What do we do next? And then I remember seeing the reveals for Poff, and I was like, okay, so stage 2
This is,
decks
yeah,
have something for this, and I think that it's something that kept stage 2 decks relevant. I think without Buddy Poffin, Charizard would never have been as insane as
yeah,
it was in the April May formats of 2024. I think that yeah, we wouldn't have seen Dragapult, maybe not now obviously, but like forms of Dragapult wouldn't have come around. And just in general, it Lost Box honestly would not have
Lost
stayed
Box would not
nearly
have
as
stayed as
strong.
relevant for sure.
And even with Lost Box having fallen off and then come back recently, like it still wouldn't have been nearly as strong. The ability to still be able to bring out 2 Pokemon, put them on the bench, is really really good.
Yeah,
The fact that they took that and tempered it a little bit and said, okay, now it's anytime throughout the game, but it's
but
only
it's only up to
70
70.
HP and less.
Yep.
Like this is at a perfect ground where we can dial it in, and it's not too overpowered, it's not too underpowered, it's useful very early obviously, but for stuff like for Lost Box potentially it can actually be helpful maybe a little later on if you
Yeah.
need to just bring something out mid game to get a little more lost zone searching if you just had kind of a bad start. It just kind of it's solved a lot of stuff for these decks in a way that they wouldn't have had it otherwise. And I think that's kind of underrated a little bit. And that's kind of why I've got it on 8. Like I said, I don't think it's necessarily like it's not this insane card. It's not so broken compared to some of the other things, but it fits into the meta in a way that the game just wouldn't have been the same without it.
Yeah. I've got some more thoughts on Buddy Buddy Poffin. Actually, a substantial bit higher later on in this list. I'm amazed that it's that low for you because I totally agree with a lot of your points. It is a bonkers card, and I'll kind of go over that here later on.
Yeah.
I am scared for how people will react to my number 7, so give me yours first.
Okay. I'm kind of scared for people reacting to mine, but my number 7 actually is Iron Thorns EX.
Okay. All right.
And my reasoning behind that just comes from like the fact that this card was like, this card got announced. Everyone said it was going to be, this card is going to be busted, and then nobody played it.
Yeah.
Like no one played it. And
no one played it, and then it won Worlds.
Oh my god, yeah, and then it comes out of nowhere. People start talking about the Quad Thorns decks, and turns out all you needed to make it work was just play it by itself and run maxed out coin flips, crushing hammers, Pokemon catchers,
and just annoying toxic cards.
Play in a way that your opponent can't have fun playing the game.
True.
And that's kind of why it's at my number 7. It's a card that flips a lot of stuff on its head by itself. We talk about like, stall formats or stall cards and control cards. This is a card that does it by itself. It doesn't need it's got support, but it doesn't need a lot in terms of like being able to do its own thing. And like Blocklax still needs like stuff to kind of keep its HP.
It needs a lot of tools. It needs penny loops. It needs a lot of things. It needs a lot of things to go right.
Yeah, Thorns is just beefy enough to kind of not have to worry about some of those same things. We're in a format where fighting weakness is not really a bad thing, because there's like at this point now there's really only 2 like slightly meta relevant fighting cards. In
who's
format.
The second?
You've got Greninja EX. Like meta. Second, Koraidon.
Yeah. I forgot.
Which is like, both of those are so. I guess if you want to go like, if you really want to stretch it, you could say 3 to 4 and add in like Slitherwing and Sandy Shocks if you want to as well.
I guess maybe Blood Moon too.
Yeah, but like not even
really.
Then, all of them are like so niche and just like don't slot into everything they're just not a problem. They're really just not a worry for something like this. And to have a deck that kind of works this way, that just says no to some of the more busted stuff in the format, and flip everything on its head, like that's so good.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool card. I think this is actually your first card you mentioned that's not on my list. Ooh, but it is in my honorable mentions. It is up there. I was considering it for a spot, but it didn't quite make the cut. It's a great card, and I think it's cool. It also reminds me a lot of Empoleon V from the Rapid Strike days, and that was super cool.
Yeah.
I do agree with all the stuff you said. It's a great card. But my number 7 slot actually goes to Prime Catcher.
Ooh, okay.
A very low for what some people might consider, oh my god, it's the best card in the game. It's fine. At the end of the day, it is another gust effect, which like there's so many gust effects in format right now. I think Prime Catcher is good. Like, don't hear me out. I just think that all of the other 6 cards on this list are better than Prime Catcher. Prime Catcher is a really good effect. Like it's a really easy slot into most decks, which I guess is an argument for it to be higher. because not all of these cards fit in every deck, but I base a lot of them off of what they've done for the meta, rather than just how easy is it to just staple it to whatever's already like being played.
That's fair. That's fair.
But it's a great card. It's a gust effect, but we also have Countercatcher in a format where prize manipulation is not hard exactly.
Yeah.
We've got Boss's Orders and things like Pidgeot to go get them every single turn. Like, gusting is not... It's... I don't know. Prime Catcher, like, while it is technically the flashiest of the A specs, really, it's still not all that glamorous of an effect. It is a very, like, it is a hardworking blue-collar A spec. It is... that's why I didn't put it any higher. But again, it is so... I don't want to understate, like, the value of it, because it's a great card. I just... like, I think there's so many other good ways to gust. Because even with something like, and not everybody uses this, Iron Bundle is really like another pseudo gust. And like when there's so many supporting Pokemon in the format right now, when you have to have like a bench full of supporting guys, sometimes an Iron Bundle is just as good as a boss. Because you've got all of your goobers on the bench who are just gonna be there to help you out.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, but yeah,
I mean, my thoughts on Prime Catcher are gonna come.
Yeah,
quite a bit
I'm sure.
I'm one of those who puts it up pretty high. So
no, I get it. I get why people put it up high. I just know for me personally, I think the other 6 on my list are higher.
Yeah, that's super fair. I guess I'll launch into my number 6. So my number 6 actually is Blood Moon or Saluna EX. So I'll make it real quick. But yeah, kind of all the points you've already mentioned about it. Like it's big, it's beefy, it doesn't get KO'd super easily, but it's not, in a realm where it's going to just be awful. You're not hitting 240 every turn. You have to do every other turn, or you can, adjust with switching options and retreats and stuff like that. You have ways to play around with that. But it's not like by itself. It can't just sit there and repeatedly slap for 240 and take out like every meta relevant basic Pokemon in the game, except for an opposing Blood Moon. And like you said, it can't get into a back and forth slap fight with other ones. It's really good in that respect. It takes any energy, like being colorless, meaning that it can take any energy, means it can slot into
every deck,
any deck, every single deck could play this card if they wanted to.
Yeah,
it's not.
I think it'd be reasonable. I think it'd be reasonable to run it for most decks to run it.
Really and truly, I think if I don't think every deck would have it, but I think in a world where if Radiant Charizard didn't exist, this card would be in Charizard decks.
Oh yeah, as soon as rotation rolls off, like Blood Moon stocks are up.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it just it fits. It fits into a lot. And then you have kind of the cool aspect of okay, well, I could build this with aiming at the prize manipulation stuff. And we saw that with after this deck came out, I know there were little meme decks. I crafted a few on live where you did Fortress EX, blow up your own fortress, and then spread grass onto this thing and iron leaves and go ham. And that was kind of around the time that Zard was still big, so
the
it worked out. And then later on with Dust Noir, same kind of deal. Blow up a Dust Noir, put damage counters onto other stuff, and then go in and slap for 240 afterwards. And I mean, you're able to kind of manipulate stuff in a way like that. But yeah, just overall, it's a really good card. It's gonna see play until it rotates out. I don't think that I don't necessarily think it should be any higher on my list, but I definitely couldn't have put it any lower on my list. I
totally get that.
I think it needed to be right in the middle personally. That's for me. But yeah.
I can totally see that. 100% I can see that. And it's funny that I think your number 6, remind me what your number 8 was?
So my number 8 was Buddy Buddy Pop.
Okay, I was mistaken. But my number 6 is, I thought for a second that our 6 and 8 were in reverse, because my number 6 is Dragapult EX.
Okay.
So specifically because it's not great right now. And I know that feels weird because this is a top 10 list, but I think it has more impact than just its relevance as a deck in the current metagame.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to consider Dragapult is why Charizard didn't stay dominant for an outrageously long time. Like, it was already dominant for a long, long time. Dragapult came out and made it so Charizard actually has to respect something in the format.
Yeah.
And I think that's my biggest reason for putting it at number 6. It's a very versatile deck. It's especially now that it's got a lot of tools at its disposal, and even next format, which I know we're not talking about next format, but Dragapult is a extremely potent deck. It's one of the best attackers in the best deck in format. Like, it's hard to neglect that it sees play in the best deck in format, hands down, as probably the number 1 attacker.
Yeah, really,
in most circumstances. Like, I see a lot of play. Most of the Regidrago play I saw actually at the Cup at Buzz City Saturday, it was like Dragapult, spread damage, and then Trifrost.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to be said for that. I think Dragapult enabling that is really, really good. I think it as a deck, it made Charizard have to like actually think about the game a little more.
Yeah. I mean, and not just Charizard, like anything that had a version of its health that optimally ran at like 60 HP.
Yeah.
Suddenly starts having to say, well, now I have to like consider a less optimal version of this card.
Do I want Call for Family Pidgey, or do I want to like let my guys die faster?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people swapped off of like the optimal Bidoof just to run a Bidoof.
That's crazy to me.
That's insane. Yeah, because like now you don't have like a Bidoof with like its own personal like bench protection. Yeah, like
that's wild. It is truly astonishing to me that people brought out chunky Brilliant Stars Bidoof.
Yeah,
all because I never in 100 years would have played like Brilliant Stars Bidoof.
No one would.
Except for the fact that Dragapult came out.
Yeah.
There was no good reason to. It had to retreat, had no ability. It had 70 HP.
Dex mixed, like, what was it? Dex mixed, like, Charmander, like, Charizard Dex mixed Charmanders in order to have, like, a certain Charmander for, like, a certain situation. Guardy decks were not running 70 HP Ralts. And then this card comes out, and now they both have to just, like, pick definitely, like, the less optimal options.
Yeah. Or they have to play it really, really well. And like, if they do play like a better version of the card, they really have to hope that they don't encounter that Dragapult matchup.
Yeah,
which is scary. It's a scary card to face. 320 HP is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah,
that is a big guy.
Yeah,
and then on top of that, like, and I know like the deck itself is separate from the card, but I don't know. It has a lot of impact in that respect. That because it is the highlight card of a major deck in the form, 2 major decks in the format.
Yeah,
it is important to take note of that.
Yeah, I think that's super, super valid.
Yeah, and that's why I've got it so high, is just because it's versatile, it threatens a lot of things, and it's in 2 really, really good decks.
Yeah, absolutely. Sip of water there, but
yeah, we're halfway done. That's crazy.
I know, right? But
oh man,
it gets tighter here.
Yeah, so from here on up, I think these next 5 cards are almost undebatably, maybe not necessarily in this order, but I think these 5 slots are, with the exception of maybe 5, I think these 5 slots are, you have to pick these cards.
I think my 5 still could be in like a realm where it's like, okay, it might not be in even some people's top 10s, I think it would be in a majority of people's top tens and maybe not as high up. But my number 5 slot goes to Two Musk Ogrepon, actually.
Okay. Yeah,
and
no, that's definitely in my list.
yeah, and it's just because this card basically, like, it made two of like the best decks of the year for 2024, and it gives grass like staying power in the meta. Grass finally is like somewhat relevant again with this, and now any future grass attacker is now immediately like up for like contention, you know, on whether you can build a deck around it just because this card exists.
Yeah.
Like, attach one, like, personal energy acceleration that is also +1 into hand, which, like, I know Pokemon's not big on, like, you know, +1 into hand and stuff like that. Like, hand size is relevant in Pokemon, but not in the same way that, like, you know, it is in a lot of other card games.
Right.
+1 into hand for energy acceleration, so I guess you're technically hand neutral, is still really good. Like, that's
it's
really
very
strong.
Good.
Like,
being able to turn, there's a term in Magic, and I learned this very recently from like a TikTok. I don't play Magic like that, but there's a term in Magic for cards that are called cantrips. They are cards that the best effect printed on the card is that it replaces itself with another card into your hand off the top of your deck. That absolutely. Like, it gets rid of itself and draws one for what, like, and that's the effect of the card, and that's the best part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's really good, in fact, that I don't want to give all my thoughts on Teal Mask. I have it higher still. It's a very good card. Yeah,
it's like I said, it's really strong, and yeah, to that point of like you said, like going hand neutral, like with a card's best ability being to go like hand neutral. Like, I don't know, like I think of like the little bit of time that I, you know, or the experience that I have playing a little Yu-Gi-Oh back in the day, and like GOATS format, you know, like 2005 era. There was what was it? Upstart Goblin was like a card that was draw one card and then give your opponent like 1,000 life points. And that card was so good that they, at the time that I was playing it, they limited it to 2.
Oh my gosh.
Because like the life points thing just didn't matter. It really didn't matter. But like having it effectively turns your deck from a 40 card deck in Yu-Gi-Oh to a 38 card deck in Yu-Gi-Oh. And so I kind of view this kind of the same way, only better, because you're also like, not only are you getting the draw, you're also getting the energy acceleration. So you're like building up to stuff, and then at the same time, like, because it's the draw, because you're doing that, you're also searching more for things like your energy switches that you're going to want to have potentially. You know, and then I mean, I'm saying all that, and I'm not even on like the fact that, you know, Raging Bolt used this thing and didn't even need to move the energy around. Raging Bolt just used this thing and threw the energy off of the Ogrepons and kept the energy on itself when it was in the best case scenario. And
so good.
It's it does a lot as an attacker. Not super amazing, but it doesn't need to be an amazing attacker.
It blows up Charizard.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's all it needs to do, really. If it's grass, that's all it has to handle is Charizard.
Exactly. And honestly, in a game where, you know, in a game where like the average person on Reddit is gonna go and say, "Look at my Charizard killer deck," you know, and I can say, "Okay, but I've got this super regular meta deck with like 3 attackers that kill Charizard, and this is one of them." Like, so
100%. That's like I said, Teal Mask is way higher on my list. It is up there for me. So fair enough. I have lots to say about that card. I would totally agree. I'm surprised that it's this low for you, honestly. I really love this card. Not for me, I don't love playing it because I don't know. I've drawn so many cards from my VMAX days that like one doesn't feel like anything. I just start itching like an addict, and it's just it's a whole problem. It's like, ooh, yes, neuron activation. But my number 5 is a very different direction. I actually have in there Night Stretcher.
Okay.
It is one of my favorite cards in the format, and it's reflected in its value too. Like if we're talking about money again, it has kept good value since it came out.
Yeah.
Wildly enough,
100%.
Shrouded Fable. I love that set. You know why? Because collectors hate it, and it's so playable. It is an outrageously playable set, and collectors don't care about it.
Yeah. No.
Night Stretcher is so good. It's so good. Not only on its own, right? So it gives Lost Zone a really important tool. In the absence of Clara, and because nobody wants to really play Alana's aid, having the opportunity to just have items off of Night Stretcher, or like not items, to have Pokemon and energy being able to come out of Night Stretcher, not in the same instance of the card, but off of the same card.
Yeah.
Really, really potent. It's really, really good in those big basic decks that we're seeing a lot of right now. It's great for just if you need to grab an energy card so that you can reuse something like Radiant Greninja or your Teal Mask Ogre Pawns. It's wonderful for that stuff. It's in perfect combination with another certain card on this list that is, sometimes you want to put your opponent at a disadvantage, and instead they're able to just play a Night Stretcher and get this other card back out, and suddenly they get to play the game however they want to again.
That's
like it's a really potent card for all those reasons, and on top of that, it has enabled one of the, at least I think, one of the most stylish and interesting engines in the game at the moment, and that is the Pokestop Rare Candy Night Stretcher engine that so many decks are playing. So specifically with the Dusknoir line, or even a lot of Turbo Charizard builds have started playing that Pokestop Night Stretcher Rare Candy setup.
Yeah.
Granted, this will likely almost entirely die with rotation, but not rotation, with the introduction of Badoo. But that's a really potent combo. Being able to take the risk out, almost all the risk out of your Pokestop, is outstanding. It's part of why I remember distinctly, I was a big Darkrai V-Star stan for a long time. And I remember it did really, really high at a tournament, I think early last year. But the reason for that, it was before E-Block rotated.
It's still a good card, honestly.
Oh, I love that card.
But it still exists in like the sphere. Like I think you could still take Darkrai to like a tournament and do pretty well with that.
Probably so. But the reason that deck was so good was because, was it Alex Szymanski who played it? I think it was Alex Szymanski. No, it wasn't. Oh no, that was the goofy one with Dusknoir. Was it Ross Cawthon maybe? But somebody, I remember distinctly. Yes, I think it was Ross Cawthon who played it with all of this stuff with like Clara. No, Clara's not in this build. I lied. I remember an interview with a Darkrai V-Star player who made it really far in a tournament. Comments correct me. But the whole idea of it was like, you play Palpad, you have the Star Abyss V-Star power. You can get, and you have like Clara that you can get your Pokemon and energy back. You have Palpad to get your supporters, and you have Star Abyss to get all the items back. You can put whatever you want in your discard, and you can go as fast as you want.
Yeah.
And that's such an incredible effect to have, and it's definitely brought back in a similar way via Night Stretcher.
Yeah.
I like that idea of being able to just go through as fast as you want, see as many resources as you want, and you don't get punished quite as hard for it. I think is a really, really good thing. Maybe not the best thing for the game, but a really potent effect that I think I would be remiss to not have it as high as it is.
Yeah, that's super fair. And I mean, for me, I'll just segue it right now, because for me, Night Stretcher was number 4. So
it's good.
Everything you said just like it resonates. Like it is the perfect card for a lot of decks. I mean, we saw like people start switching away a little bit from like double Super Rod in some decks to like one Super Rod, and even just one Night Stretcher, which is
Yeah.
kind of crazy when you think about like giving up like that ability for going like, you know, 3 cards back into your deck.
Or just
But
one in your hand.
yeah, I mean,
Which, to be fair, is the effect of Rescue Stretcher from back in the day. Like,
yeah,
it was 3 into the deck or 1 into your hand.
Yep.
Except now it's just on the same. It's like on a different card.
Yeah.
So
it's just taking the 1 in the hand versus 2 in the bush, quite literally.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
And that's how good a card like that is. Like that's how like it. I don't know how else to say.
I
it.
love
Like,
that card.
It's so strong. Like you said, like that ability to bring things back, to enable some of these engines to have recovery and like instantaneous recovery for things. I mean, it even enables like wacky combos in stuff like Charizard. You can go like, you can Night Stretcher like a Charizard that got knocked out back into your hand, and then Thornton a Charmander onto a basic.
I love the Thornton play.
And then rare candy that Charizard, and just repeat in like the same turn. Like it functions as like kind of an extra Ultra Ball, Nest Ball. In some circumstances, it functions as, you know, like you said, energy recovery. If you're in just a really bad hand, but you need like a little bit extra card draw, and that might help you out, you can energy back into hand for you know, concealed cards. You can use it and pull something back into hand even for Gardevoir if Gardevoir doesn't want to like ditch anything else. You know,
I find it funny you mentioned that it's sometimes a better Nest or Ultra Ball, because I kind of had to change my thinking when I was really like leaning heavy into Palkia Noctowl. I like that card changed the way I think about that engine, because I was able to go from like, oh, I need an Ultra Ball, to being like, oh, sometimes I get lucky and I have a Noctowl in my starting hand and I can squawk it away. And then when I use my fan call, I go grab like my 2 Hoot Hoots and like 1 Noctowl. And instead of having to get an Ultra Ball for my whatever like number Noctowl, I can just go get a Night Stretcher, get the one out of my discard, and chain from there. And it's so potent for that. And you can chain like stuff like Noctowl, stuff like Charizard, stuff like Dusknoir. It's an amazing card. Sorry,
like,
go ahead.
No. It's absolutely it. Like, I mean, you mentioned the Palkia Dusknoir deck, and I love that deck, even if it's not strictly like the best possible option these days, unfortunately.
I don't know. I still think it's the best deck in format.
It's still very, very strong. That like that ability to just be okay with like, you know, oh, I'm gonna Pokestop like stuff, and I get to watch like 3 Pokemon disappear, and it's like, cool. I didn't need those this turn anyway.
I'll
now
just
they're
get them
in
back
my discard. I'll get them later.
You don't have to search for them later.
Yeah, it solves it solves like stuff like that for you. You don't have to search for them later. You can card draw your way into other things that you want next, you know. In some cases, that kind of combo actually makes you know, some weird stuff happen where it's like, oh, I want to Pokestop first because I have more chance of getting rid of something, and then I can do something, you know, for extra card draw afterwards to get something I want, you know. I mean,
it turns it sometimes turns Cypher Maniac into Master Ball. Where you can Cypher Maniac a Pokemon and a Night Stretcher onto the top of your deck, Pokestop it, get a third card, just sometimes for free, and then just go get the Pokemon you want. Like,
exactly.
Which I know is super niche, but like, that's some of my favorite plays to make happen.
Yeah, that's such a good combo. Always such a good combo. Yeah, that's really all my thoughts on that one.
Goated card.
I'll push that from there into my number 3 slot, which
hold on. I haven't had a chance to go number 4.
Oh, that's right. You did number 4. I did number 4. Oh my god. I'm getting
it's okay. Don't worry.
Okay.
Number 4 is actually for me was Buddy Buddy Poppin'.
Okay.
I for every reason that you said, it is incredible. It brings forward, it makes it so setup decks can still play. And I think that's the most important thing it can do. With how fast the format is, I'll try to be kind of succinct because we talked about it a lot already. With how fast the format is, being able to get out a bunch of little guys is crucial.
Yeah.
And Buddy Buddy Poffin does exactly that. I remember when it first was revealed, I bought 2 playsets of the Pokemon Go Ditto because I swore that was going to be the new meta.
I did the exact same thing. I did the exact same thing. So didn't turn out to be that way, unfortunately.
No, not at all. There are still 7 of those Ditto in this.
But you know, if I don't know, nah. I was gonna say if Nestball goes away, but Nestball's not going away. So
no, and they're the same regulation mark. But
yeah,
it is really cool in the EV deck, I guess.
That's fair.
But like, I don't know. But yeah, all that to say, Buddy Buddy Poffin, very good card, excellent for Lost Box, excellent for setup decks. Great for like a recovery card, because sometimes because I love to play those decks that pick apart your opponent's board.
Yeah,
like the Palkia Dusknoir, like I like the idea of Trifrost and Regidrago a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so being able to come back from that is so good.
Yeah.
Being able to like, oh man, it really sucks that you just Greninja turn 2 against my Pidgey and my Charmander, and that's the only 2 guys I had out. But I can get 2 more, and I'm still in the game a little bit. Like, it's still going to be hard to come back from that.
Oh yeah.
But you can. You don't absolutely. You don't waste as many resources trying to get your guys set up.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of all I got on Buddy Buddy Poffin. It's a great card. I love it because it fills kind of the niche of Battle VIP Pass, but it doesn't feel broken.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's hear your number 3.
Much more balanced one. So yeah, number 3, coming into number 3. Like I said, I think these are going to be pretty cut and dry. I've got an idea now, I think, of like your ranking at this point because of what you've said and what else you've had already. But I'm gonna go with my number 3 is it's Dusknoir. Shrouded Fable Dusknoir is just
incredible,
bananas. Like,
it's so good.
Like we saw TPCI like ban Mismatches. And then they come out with this thing. And this is like crazier than Mismatches.
By degrees of magnitude.
Yeah. Like, knock yourself out, draw cards. That's good.
Sure.
Knock yourself out and place damage counters and like
13 of them.
13 damage counters. Like enough to knock out a lot of basic Pokemon, like regular, basic Pokemon. Enough to enable like some crazy. I mean, you can double Dusk now onto anything that has 220 HP or less, and then throw. Gone. Yeah, like if you could do that and then throw Radiant Greninja, Moonlight Shuriken at those things, and you're taking 4 prizes.
It's so good
for giving up 2. Like. And it's not even like it's always you still have the option before that to do stuff like, okay, well, I gave up the prizes, so now you have less prize.
Countercatcher.
I'm gonna countercatcher, and I'm gonna Iono you and put you into a worse hand, and then take my prizes. Like it's such a good card. Like that ability to do that, and then like we said before, like being able to enable that, that Pokestop, engine with like rare candy and Night Stretcher, and just go for that. I can Cypher Maniac, rare candy and Night Stretcher right onto the top of my deck.
It's so
and I can go, if I've already got a candy in hand. Like, I mean, I have done this play before where I'm just like, oh, I've already got a candy in hand. I'll Cypher Maniac, candy, Night Stretcher, top of the deck, Night Stretcher or Pokestop them. Maybe get something else, maybe not. Who cares? I get the 2 things that I want. And then I go, okay, let me take the Dusknoir that I've got in hand, candy it, boom, blow something up, Night Stretcher, candy,
Do
boom,
it
blow something
again.
again.
It's so
And
good.
then continue with my turn afterwards
Mm-hmm.
in a way that just feels so good. Like, that is such a
It is
busted card.
such a good card.
I understand. I mean, still personal take is that I don't think it's ban worthy.
No.
But I can understand why some people have come with the argument that, like, this card is worth banning because of what it does. I think what it does is disgusting and broken, but I don't think that that's worth banning in standard format. As of right now, it's not enabling anything so crazily degenerate that it's worth banning. It's still
Right.
stage 2. It still needs a lot of enablers to make it like degenerate.
Yeah.
And I think that because of that, it's just so cool. Also,
It's cool.
this is the
stylish
first one,
too.
Yeah, this is the first one I'm actually going to go to, like, the art direction. Like, they didn't need to, but the
secret rare
illustration,
is so good.
oh my god, the
so
illustration
good.
rares that they did for this whole line was so cool. It's one of my favorites for that, because you've got the little dust skull, like, on the street, and then you've got the Dusclops, like,
and they look
hanging
just
out in the
menacing
backyard.
enough.
Yep. And then finally the Dust Noir's, like, right at the back door,
Dude.
seen through, like, a glass window. Like, it's just, like I said, that's the first one where, like, I really wanted to bring in the art direction for that, because it's
good.
So
it has
cool.
a theme. It's stylized the same.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree.
Argument to play that Duskull over, the other Duskull.
The perplexed Duskull.
Yeah, the argument is simply that art, if you have that art. And if you don't,
and if you don't, there's a Galarian gallery for the perplexed Duskull.
Exactly. Like, there's so many good art
from the best set ever printed.
Whole lot. Yeah,
Crown Zenith.
Yeah, so that's my Dust Noir. Like, I'm sure everything I said is just gonna be echoed again when we get to it on your list, because I'm 90% sure
it's my number. It's spoilers. It's my number 2 slot.
Okay. Yeah.
My number 3 is actually Teal Mask. So
Teal
Mask is, for every reason that you said it's good, it's great. Being able to turn your grass energy into cantrips, being able to have an attack into one of the scariest attackers in the format, being able to just, like, even just down to the way it's, like, it's one retreat. It's very good.
Yeah.
It's got so many things that are making it good. That it does almost everything that you want a card to do, just in kind of like the least sexy way possible.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not draw 1 million. It's not the biggest HP total. It's not like the best attack. And it's not even like a free retreater.
No.
But it does so many things so above average that it makes an incredible card. And on top of all these things, it's also what has become, it hasn't been really a factor until very recently, is it is a Terra type as well. And that, I think, is what gives it so much of an edge, is that right now the Terra typing is so important for the metagame. Being able to
bench barrier.
First of all, baked in bench barrier, bananas, because, like, I can't tell you a number of times I've never, like, accidentally clicked one when trying to use Mirage Barrage on Greninja EX, but I have thought about a play and then been like, crap, I can't do that. Terra is so good. It enables Noctowl, it enables Area Zero, it enables like, just so many really, really good effects. Like Glass Trumpet is wonderful. Being able to just get cards, it has helped it has brought Regidrago into the format.
Yeah,
Regidrago was not a deck really without Ogerpon, without Teal Mask. And I think that is such a crucial thing to remember, is that, like, we used the Arceus engine, we used that's the main one, but
I think that was pretty much. I mean, it was either you ran Arceus or
there was another build for a while, but I don't remember what it was.
You ran it by itself and then just kind of, like, tried to stall with, like, Klefki or something like that.
Yeah,
that was for a while, and then I think once the TMs dropped,
Yeah, Turbo Energize is the
Turbo
other one.
Energize was like a thing, but like
It wasn't the
those
same.
are not fast.
They are
None
not.
of those
They
are
are not
fast.
Teal Mask Ogre Pawn into Energy Switch.
Yeah.
They are not Teal Dance into Energy Switch, and it's so good.
Yeah.
For all of those reasons and more, like it brought Regidrago, it brought Raging Bolt.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great way to flood the board with energy and just have that resource out of your deck and into another place, so that you can do other stuff with the cards in your hand and the cards in your deck.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what I want to do with every energy card, is get it somewhere that I don't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And use the cards in my deck that I actually care about.
Yeah.
Such a good card. So impactful, because like long term too. Like it's going to be good for a while, because I'm sure there's going to come a time, like in like a format or two, or maybe more, where people are like, well, what the heck do we do? We could always start with basics and put Teal Mask Ogre Pawns and Grass Energies in. Like that's a good basis for a deck. You don't have to. You can add stuff to it, and there's an optimal pairing. But you can start with a baseline Teal Mask Ogre Pawn, Grass Energy, and you have a means of getting your ball rolling.
It's already happening. That's already happened with like those Ogre Pawn Entei V decks that like
the Ogre Pawn Entei
here
deck
and there. Like it's
silly.
I don't think it's a good deck. It'll. I mean, clearly it has won people cups, and stuff like that. It'll definitely win your local meta for sure. You'll probably have maybe one or two people, make a day 2 at a regional with that deck.
Certainly, it'll get a limitless page.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not amazing, but the fact just that like this card enables like something like that to happen is definitely worthwhile. Like it's a card, I think, that by itself it's not doing a ton, but it's making decks, like it is making other decks, and I think that is kind of where it truly shines,
Yeah, 100%.
I think to touch on it again, because you mentioned it with the Draco thing, and I feel like I don't know, I just like to rehash that, but it took a D tier deck. Like it took a D tier deck
and made it the best deck in format.
And not just for one format either. It's
for
Drago
for a while.
Drago has basically been S tier, A tier since Worlds. Like since Worlds, since leading up into Worlds and Worlds, like it has been,
which is a long
definitively
time.
one of the best decks. Yeah, to do that, like it's with everything that's coming out in the next mini set, like not really impacting much.
Right.
It's basically going to enable Drago to stay S tier until Drago rotates in a few months, and like give this like no name whatever meh deck suddenly like 9 months of like just
being
uncontested insane powerhouse. Like that's ridiculous.
It just occurred to me, I think it's almost poetic that when Silver Tempest came out, Lugia was undisputed best deck in format for an insane amount of time.
Yeah.
And it was only killed by rotation.
Yeah.
We still have Lugia around after Silver Tempest, but all of its attackers kind of went away.
Yeah.
And now we're getting a similar thing with Regidrago, the other highlight card of the set. Is that Regidrago is getting its time in the limelight.
Yeah.
Obviously not as broken as Lugia V-Star was. I don't think we'll ever see something that broken again. Please, TPCI, never print something that broken again. But we're seeing Regidrago get its Lugia V-Star moment where it's like, this is the undisputed best deck, and the only thing that will kill it will be rotation.
Yeah.
And while it sucks to play against Regidrago because of how good it is, I admire that it's getting that time, because when it first came out, I was like, oh, this seems really cool. I wish we had more dragons and a way to accelerate energy.
Yeah.
And now we've got them, baby.
Yep.
And it's
100%. 100%.
So good.
So much.
And it's all thanks to Teal Mask. Teal Mask literally dug it up from the depths and said, all right, here's your time. Use it wisely.
Yep. Oh, man.
Oh, dude. What a good card. What a great card. And like I already said, kind of moving on swiftly, number 2 is Dusknoir.
Yeah.
It's Dusknoir, 130 anywhere. The whole Dusk line really is great. 50, I can't overstate. 50 to 1 is still very good. Many decks are running Cleffa. Decks are about to start running Badoo. 50 to 1 is great. 130 to 1, really good.
Yeah. 50 enabled that, like, that, okay, you could take out, like, low HP, single price Pokemon.
Yep.
130 enables, like, options against 2 prices.
It's big 1-2 punches. And having that prize manipulation at your fingertips is so good. Yeah. It's for all of the reasons we've already talked about. If you play the Pokemon TCG right now, you know that Dusknoir is bananas. It's so good. It's not too good, but it is so good. It's impactful. It's in a myriad of decks and archetypes. It is just an outrageously good card. I can kind of see why you would want it banned if you're like bad at the game. But it's just a good card. I think it's healthy to have in the format. Because it also doesn't gatekeep. Like, it doesn't gatekeep. We used to have no option for small guy single prize decks. But with Ancient Box being like a little beefier, with Lost Box kind of getting like some like, with Lost Box being fine and not really losing a prize race against Dusknoir, I think the trade-off is just fine. I think it's great for the game. I think it's an impactful card that people are scared of, but it is just a really cool card. It's great. You need to respect it. And I love that card. I think it's one of the, like I said, second place for the most impactful card out of 2024.
I can definitely understand that.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what your number 2 is.
So my number 2 was Prime Catcher.
Okay.
And I feel like that's like a very like, you know, it's a safe pick for number 2, but I to me, like, the reasoning is just like every deck.
It's got staying power.
It's got staying power. Every deck ran it. If your deck doesn't run Prime Catcher, that means you're either not building optimally or you're running something that needs something else much more.
Yeah, or is like really specialized.
Yeah. Lugia running Legacy, for instance. Thorn's Pult running Trolley right now.
Silly.
Even like the random like secret box, decks with like Miraidon, valuing, the ability to get a bunch of stuff with secret box, maybe a little more than Prime Catcher in some instances. I can even understand, and even then, that's still like contention whether Miraidon actually wants to run secret box or Prime Catcher.
Prime Catcher is good.
Prime Catcher is just insanely good. It's basically just one of those things, like, if you have an ace spec to run in a deck, it should probably be Prime Catcher like 90% of the time. If you're unsure of what ace spec to put in your deck and you can't figure one out, and any of the options to put in your deck are Prime Catcher is probably the one to put in the deck if you can't figure the other ones out.
Yeah, Prime Catcher is great.
It's just like Gust and Switch, is it's good. Just so good. And then on top of that, like the fact that it's reachable through Pokestop. It's it being Arvin. An item like that. Arvin, exactly. Arvin can grab you. Like you're debating for your turn. It's like, oh shoot, I want to like support her for a tool, and like I need an Arvin for a tool. Dude, but I also, I could really use Prime Catcher like a boss this turn. Now you don't have to choose.
True.
Now you've got that. If you've got Prime Catcher in hand and you need to, use a different supporter, to do something, and you need to also boss in the same turn, now you've got both. It's just
it's very
good. Just kind of has enabled just such an insane combo for that. So yeah, like I think we've kind of hashed that one already.
Yeah,
for how good that is.
It's very potent. It's cool that sometimes Arvin is just Guzma.
Yeah.
Guzma and also Defiance banned, so I'm doing plus
Yep.
30, so get bent, I guess.
Yep, pretty much. It's comeback plus.
Yeah. Very, very good card.
And then yeah, so I think with all that said, I think coming at number one.
Hold on. Before we get there, I want to, because we know what this is, I want to talk about some cards that we enjoy.
Okay.
Let's talk about our honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions. Fair enough.
Is on mine. Like I said, I've got Iron Thorns on there on my honorable mentions. I at one point put Monkey Dory in the mix.
That's fair.
I don't think, like, it definitely didn't crack the top 10, but it was in contention because how good it is in Gardevoir, how it was doing with like the Frost Last decks. It was cool. I liked Cornerstone. It was up there a little bit. Secret Box, Unfair Stamp, Legacy Energy, and then Sparkling Crystal all were up there in contention.
Okay.
When you think about, I mean, it's kind of unfair to, like, just because they're A-specs, they're designed to be better than most cards, right? But like, those all do something really cool. Sparkling Crystal obviously is like a little less good because it's for like one deck, but a lot of those are just really potent effects. Fan Rotom and the Noctowl engine are incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, and then briefly, Iron Crown EX I thought was really cool.
Okay.
I think that is not, it wasn't going to be in my top 10 in the final cut, but it was cool. I was considering it because it did have a very brief, super important impact on the metagame with Future Hands, which is the suboptimal way to play the Future deck. And I will stand by that. You should always be playing Future Box. Trust, it's good. But like, that was a really good deck for a long time. And I'd be remiss to not mention that. It was very, very potent. I'm trying to think. Anything else on
as a Future Hands enjoyer, I can definitely.
Yeah, it's a cool deck.
Yeah, I was such a big fan of Future Hands. I'm still coping at the fact that like rotation will surely bring it back, but it won't. But you know,
I think about it. I'm like, sometimes I'm like, man, maybe that deck would be good right now. And I'm like, nah, not even a little bit.
I'll probably build it out on live, throw it into the ladder again, and then just get curb stomped, and then
you might not even get curb stomped. It might just not be good enough because it's still a good deck. Like, you're getting your damage mods, you're hitting your numbers. You're just not always like, you're not eating up Lost Box every single game.
Yeah. At the end of the day,
hey, next format though.
True.
When Lost Box comes back,
with Lost Box potentially coming back, I think we might. And Badoo like being a thing. The only downside is Badoo is like answering you very cleanly with like with no generators. But
it's fine. You have Miraidon. You're good.
Exactly. You got Baby Miraidon to come out and start
Baby John.
Start accelerating your energy. So cool.
Something always to think about.
Yep. So with my honorable mentions, I kind of put a few A-specs. For me, it was I actually, and maybe I had it on here briefly, and maybe I should have left it on. I don't know. I had Unfair Stamp on there, but I took it off even my honorable mentions just because of the last card I'm going to talk about. Kind of just making Unfair Stamp not matter.
I get that.
But my other A-specs, Hero's Cape, Legacy
Very
Energy,
good.
Secret Box, Precious Trolley, and recently Energy Surge Pro.
Ooh, okay.
Hero's Cape is obviously just kind of like, that's just good, like plus 100.
Make my guy bigger.
I mean, we saw Guardies like running Luxurious Cape at the risk of like making single prize Pokemon 2 prizes for a short time period. You know, like that was just that risk was kind of spooky for them. And they still ran that, and then Hero's Cape came out, and they had to think about like, okay, am I gonna Hero's Cape or am I gonna Unfair Stamp? Well, Hero's Cape came out first, I think, and then Unfair Stamp came out. But it was, it was like, okay, am I gonna Cape or am I gonna Stamp?
Yeah,
like that's an option. And then like Hero's Cape Zard, just
Hero's Cape Zard is scary,
stupid.
It's scary.
Like,
and
you've
honestly,
already got
either of those in something like Zard is such a jump scare. Because if they're not playing Prime Catcher, they're playing Hero's Cape or Unfair Stamp. You never want to get Unfair Stamp. and you never want to, especially if you aren't running a vacuum, like most people aren't lately.
Yeah.
If you're not running a vacuum and your opponent puts a cape on their Zard, you're like,
Yeah.
oh god, why?
I mean, Hero's Cape Zard like makes. We talked about how good Teal Mask Ogrepon was, and the fact that it technically is like, you know, it can be a Zard killer when
Yeah.
you need it to be. Hero's Cape like made that not a thing. You know,
No.
like
No, it's not.
like Hero's Cape just existing meant that Zard could still outlast like its
Yeah.
own weaknesses. You know, like that's kind of good.
And then you
Legacy
Turo.
Energy. Oh my, yeah, Turo it. Yes, absolutely. Lose the cape, but it don't matter.
Bummer.
Yeah, Legacy Energy, obviously, just like again, like
Great for Lugia.
enabling Lugia to kind of like come back as, you know, this insanely. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it wasn't the only thing that enabled Lugia, but
Yeah, I had the rats on my honorable mentions for a moment as well.
I think that's super fair. That's super valid too.
They're really good.
Yeah, that like Legacy just kind of enabled that. But the
Legacy
reason I
is
have
so
that on
good.
here is because, like, I mean, there's other decks that could want it in the future. There's other decks that ran it. I mean, I'll talk about it like I did on your last episode, but you know, the Armor Rouge decks and all with like Fire Off. I mean, Legacy Energy works
pretty
with that.
good.
That's like that alone is that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Secret Box, that ability to just like grab 4 things that you could want and get
Secret
rid of
Box
3.
Secret Box in the ancient deck
Yes,
is so cool.
getting rid of stuff out of your hand that you don't need or to enable like your deck's combos, and then also grab 4 things you do need. Like,
imagine you
so
Earthen Vessel, Secret Box, go get your Sada, go get whatever else you need, and then suddenly like you have a lot more guys in the discard. You can Sada, you can draw cards, you can accelerate your energy. Oh, it's so cool. I think that's the best place for Secret Box.
Yeah,
it's
100%.
so good.
Trolley we saw was good. Trolley has enabled. I mean, Trolley Zard is a thing now. Technically, Trolley Guardy is a thing now. Technically,
yeah. It's a great way to just start the game.
Like me to finally be able to play. What was it? Conkeldurr.
Yes.
You know,
Conkeldurr.
Finally, you know, I have a way to fight back against TPCI and their hate of, you know,
fighting
making
types.
Timber 70 HP instead of 80. So,
bro, please print a 70 HP Timber.
70 HP Timber comes out, it's over for everyone.
Yeah. Listen, the same way if 70 HP Fuecoco comes out.
Yeah.
Y'all are cooked.
Yeah, absolutely. It like enables like silly like meme rogue decks like that to even just like have an option. Like finally, you know. So Trolley's in there for that, and then obviously like now with, you know, Thorn's Bolt like being not just like, you know, a meme, but like a credible threat, like, you know, and enabling that combo, like that's really good. And then Energy Search Pro, obviously, because like again, just Golden Go having that.
I dunked on that card so many times, and then every time I play against Golden Go now, they play it, and I lose the game.
It's so good. I'll be. I mean, I'm not going to be the first one to have said it, but I'm not a Golden Go fan, and that's just like playing it. I don't get into playing the deck very much. I didn't get into playing Shin Pao very much. I didn't get into playing even like Raging Bolt very much. Like just the go big, discard a bunch of stuff off a Pokemon or out of your hand to attack. Just for me in general, it's just not a playstyle that I've ever enjoyed for whatever reason. I don't know why. I can't explain it, but I'm not a fan of it. That said, like I watch these people I play against use it, and they'll throw it down. They'll grab 7 energies out of deck like turn 2, and I'm just here like, all right, cool. I'm about to get like slapped.
It makes me glad for the first time ever that Fairy Energy is not legal in the format.
Oh my god, right?
Because if it was, they would just be able to get another one, and that would make me so angry.
Yep. So those are the ace specs, and then the other quick honorable mentions, because I only got like 3 others on here.
Yeah.
I put Noctowl on here again. Another one that like I didn't play the Trapghost decks much, but Noctowl is really strong. Like
it's gonna come back to be very, very good at some point. Before it rotates out, it will be the best deck engine in format. Mark my words.
Absolutely. Especially like, I mean, Pidgeot still has another year left, but after Pidgeot leaves, right, you still have 1 more year for all of the other
Wait.
Terras.
What? Hold on.
Yep, G-Block.
Oh, wait.
Yep, Pidgeot's G-Block, and Noctowl is H. So Noctowl gets 1 full year on Pidgeot, along with
It
the
is
other...
G-Block. That's next year.
Yep.
That's so
2026.
soon.
I know, right?
That's when Charizard rotates too. What the heck?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
2026, you'll probably see
Whoa.
Noctowl a lot more. Unless, of course, like 2025 Princess, like something even more absurdly busted for searching. I don't know. But
probably not.
Like, just, that's still really good.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. That's
and then,
bonkers. Go ahead.
So I had Crispin on here because I think
Crispin was up there.
I think
Crispin and Briar.
It's solid. Crispin, yeah. I had Briar briefly, and I think I took Briar off, and maybe I should put that on too. I don't know. But same kind of thing. Like, just, it's such a solid thing. It's enabled, it's now enabling, like, some good decks. It'll continue to enable some good decks. It's going to stick around. It's still niche, but it's there.
I think the more stellar types we get, the better Crispin will become.
Yeah. The more that anything needs, like, to a different kind of energy, or even just, like, decks that like to play a couple different kinds of energy, I think we could see that, happen and be really, really good. And
it's
then,
low-key just Mirage Gate on a supporter and without the Lost Zone mechanic.
Yeah, 100%. And then my last honorable mention was Area Zero.
Yeah.
Just having Skyfield back, but like
big bench
for a different qualification. Like, yeah, just super strong.
It's cool.
It's like super good.
And it's cool to have that in the format again. Eternatus VMAX had that going on, and it was cool. And then it left, and I was like, I didn't realize how much I would miss that. And now it's back, and I'm glad.
Yeah. Super, super fun. And like, I mean, I love playing like the current Brydon build that, runs this card.
Big old bench, Raikou swing.
Having like all your like electric options, like having Brydon wanting those options and having all of those options.
Yes.
Feels so cool. So, yeah.
Cool.
And then I guess on to the point that everyone's been waiting for, right? The number
and that
one.
Everyone has seen coming.
Yeah.
Let's talk about why Pheasantipity EX is the best card in the game, and it's not even close, and maybe it should be banned.
I think Fez is more ban-worthy than Dusknoir is.
Every day of the week.
The fact that like I can read more people online, I think, complain about Dusknoir over Fez is maybe it's mildly infuriating, and it's also just like I think it shows just how like maybe undervalued this card is right now. I don't know if that's like correct or not, because it's still so strong, but I think it's like, I think that anytime someone says like doesn't talk about Fez and doesn't talk about banning it or restricting it in some sort of way, I think is a discussion missed on why this card is too strong.
Yeah. This card is still $15, by the way. I'm trying to find...
Disgusting.
I'm trying to find stats on...
It was back down for a bit. I remember mid-December it was back down and it went back up again.
The fact that I had to buy Japanese copies because they were cheaper.
Yeah.
Just to have proxies so I would like have the space filled in my deck.
Right.
Hold on. I need to see something. I'll tell you what I'll do, because I can't find the exact thing. I'm looking at Limitless TCG right now. I've got 6 deck lists in front of me. Or even I can look at complete deck ranking. I look at Regidrago. There is one Pheasantipity EX in 98.29 Regidrago decks. There is one Pheasantipity EX in 100% of Charizard EX decks. One in 100% of Cloth decks. Snorlax Stall doesn't play it because it's Snorlax. Raging Bolt, 98.81% of Raging Bolts. Gardevoir doesn't need it. Dragapult. Why is that not on here? Why does it not say that? It should be on every deck list.
There's like
one in like most of the top decks for Dragapult.
Since this card
Lugia
came
doesn't
out,
play it, but like every deck probably should play this card. It's so good.
If you go, so here's a I think a good way to look at this, right? If you go on Limitless, based off of my computer right now, I'm looking at Limitless, right? Pull up Fezandipity EX. I go to print on the page.
Yeah.
And if I print the page,
print.
If I take the option to print, Limitless
the deck
aims
lists
to print 78 pages of Fezandipity deck lists.
Yeah.
78 pages of decks that use
pages.
Since
that's not like, 78 decks.
Yeah. That's since its legalization for Worlds and until Champion League Osaka. Like that's just, I think that's a testament to like the fact that this card has been around for like what, half a year.
Think about it. That's also just cards. That's also only including decks that have a Limitless page. Yes. The Limitless page includes a very small percentage of decks overall.
This is day 2. Like when you think about it, really, it's decks that have made day 2 at a regional.
And day 2's decks. What? How many players? Like sub 60, right?
No, definitely not that. Day 2 still usually has like a couple hundred. No, it's not day 2 then. It still goes up. I think they go up to like maybe like 100 or 200 players on the Limitless page.
That's approximately 10%.
Yeah.
Because like Charlotte last year, 2,000. Many of the big regionals are hitting 2,000, 1,500, 1,800, 2,000. There's all like 10% of the decks are represented, and almost and that is 78 pages of decks playing Fezandipity EX.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to dunk on this card because like I hate it. It's so bad for the game. But I mean, we're here to kind of like, this is supposed to be kind of a celebratory video about 2024.
I think
it's just so hard to not be like, ugh.
Yeah, if I do, let me see if I can. I want to try something here.
Yeah.
What I'm running, but I wanted to. The way that adds in doesn't work out. Never mind. I was trying to text document and see how many lines of decks from like Stuttgart ran Fezandipity, because it's like almost every deck that it was at Stuttgart that has a limit that got into Limitless, which is like from 1 all the way to 304th.
Wow.
Like, has Fezandipity. So, I mean, there's some that are like in there that obviously aren't in that count, but like 96, 97, there were no Fezandipity like in those decks, because those aren't on this listing here. But the fact just is, this is a card that made it into so many decks.
Yeah.
So many events. And it's the card is what got like an 8 of the way into its life cycle right now.
It's too good.
And this is it's gonna stay relevant. Like it's gonna stay relevant. Like
it's gonna stay relevant unless fighting becomes really, really good. Yeah. And even then, it's just gonna go into that fighting deck.
Yep. Because at the end of the day, you play down your Fez, you draw your 3 cards, and you power up an attacker.
It makes it so Iono's not real.
Yep.
Roxanne isn't real. Unfair Stamp isn't real.
Yep. It eliminated the entirety of like hand disruption as a option.
Yeah, it has made me think really hard about like I should just be running Lost City in my decks. Because otherwise my opponent is just going to Night Stretcher Fez every time I take a knockout.
It is worth considering a Lost City in every deck right now, just for the fact that like you could Lost City of Fez. Like
that's such incredible value.
That's crazy.
There are decks that don't have to worry about drawing cards because they know that all it takes is a nest ball, and they don't ever have to worry about a draw engine ever.
Yep. And we're gonna lose Lost City, so now you can't even
lost zone it.
delete a Fez.
It's in there.
Yep. Oh my god.
TPCI, please reprint Lost City, bro. Please. Oh my goodness.
Over half they've got like the listing here for like even for like Champions League Osaka, right? Which is only going to always print like the top 16 because those are the only ones that make day 2 for like Champions League events.
Yeah.
Even with that, there's 9 decks here. Out of 16, 9 decks ran Fez.
Yeah.
Over half, like over 50%.
I'm surprised it's that low.
Honestly,
frankly.
yeah. But like that's what are the decks that did? Okay.
Let me you've got Lugia that doesn't need it. You see 3 Lugia. You see Guard of War. You see Ancient Box doesn't need
Ancient Box, yeah.
Yeah.
So Lugia that doesn't need it. Guard of War and Ancient Box that don't need it.
Does play it?
And yeah,
Cyrilege
loves it.
This Cyrilege doesn't play it.
Oh really?
From Osaka.
That's right. One of the Cyrileges. Yep. Looks like number 5 didn't.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, number 5 didn't. Interesting.
Number 5 did not play it, which is a choice.
I mean, they're at number 5. I guess I can't necessarily argue with that.
I've never made 5th place in a 5,000 player tournament, so I can't really contend with their opinion. However,
I would argue.
Catch me in the streets, Takashi Yoneda.
I would absolutely argue that Fez is fantastic. Fez is the reason that on a lot of Cyrilege builds, you start seeing more Night Stretchers and stuff like that. Because Night Stretcher enables Fez.
It just enables Fez.
Ultra Ball for Fez. I can ditch a Fez out of hand for whatever.
It makes me totally comfortable getting rid of a Fez.
Yeah.
I remember.
So good. I remember we've talked about this before with other people, and it's what would have made Fez balanced?
Never printing it.
Never printing it. Yeah. No, there's definitely
I don't know. There's ways you could. It could be draw 2, and only if your opponent has 4 prize card or 3 prize cards are left remaining.
Yeah, make it so your opponent has to have low prizes for you to do it.
But that also feels bad to play. That's a very much armchair developer take from me.
Yeah.
Because I understand that it feels bad to print a card that is dead for half of the game.
Yeah. I mean, it even it would have been, I don't know, maybe have it need to be in the active to use the ability.
Even something like that where you have to kind of put it at a risk.
That would have been better, force it to have to move up. But now
because then you play for a Sode girl and you get to and you get to go get your 3 cards.
I mean, nowadays all of the things that I've seen suggested to fix it, it just wouldn't even matter anyway, because you can Dust Noir now, so you can just
exactly. You can Dust Noir down to 3 prizes.
You can.
I think it's a combination of all those things
now
too. Yeah.
On your bench, and it's oh no, I got knocked out. Let me put that as an active, draw my 3 cards, and retreat it into my next attacker.
It honestly should be a Prism Star card.
Yeah,
where it goes to the lost zone if you ever discard it.
Yep.
I think that's the best way to balance it. In fact.
Yep. Because it's just I don't
it's
know
too good.
I don't know what else you do.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else. I don't know.
And I remember when this card was first announced, the discussion came around of people are okay, well, it's just Oricorio again, and
it's just Oricorio again.
Oricorio GX was full disclosure, wasn't playing around the time.
Me neither.
But Oricorio GX apparently did not see tons of play. It apparently wasn't fully busted. It saw some play, but not to the same sort of degree. And
what the heck? This is the same ability.
Yeah.
How did Oricorio GX not see play in every deck?
Your guess is as good as mine.
That's wild to me. Maybe it's because it's 170 and not 210.
Maybe. And at the time, with GX cards, they were different. I don't really know.
That's true. It was a very different time in the game.
I couldn't say
Trade
exactly.
Zoroark was also like really, really good back then.
Yeah.
And you kind of had a lot more draw on board. So I guess, I don't know. But
I couldn't say. But the fact is like, people saw this and were like, okay, well, we're getting more Koryogen. It's probably not going to be mega impactful, but some decks will like it. No.
Come to find out,
almost every deck wants this card. And it's not like Prime Catcher where you have to choose something.
Yeah.
Now it's like,
you just put it in.
You just get it. You have it.
Yeah. Well, even the decks that don't like play it still want to play it.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, I can't afford a 2-prize liability on my bench. Like,
pretty much.
There is no deck that doesn't want 3 extra cards every turn.
Yeah. Pretty much. Like, I mean, Gardevoir decks are like, Gardevoir deck is like maybe that's the only one that doesn't need it.
Right. But even then, like,
Curlia, but like Gardevoir would still love that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. 3 extra cards in
3 more cards? I'll take it. I'll take your entire stock.
Absolutely. God. Like, yeah. I it's just such a
It's hard to not get exasperated with this card because it is so potent. And it very much I don't want to like rag on this too long because we're kind of over time already.
Yeah.
But it dilutes the format a lot where you don't have to have it there's less of a skill ceiling on deck building because you don't have to have a draw engine on board. You just throw a Fez into the deck and you're good. But all that to say, it is an outrageously good card. I'm not thrilled that it is in the game because it is toxic how good it is. But I can say without a doubt, it's the number one. It's the best card in the game. Yeah. And it's not even close. Like,
number 1 card of the year for sure.
There's almost tiers in my top 10. There's like my bottom 3 are like kind of in their own section. Like my 8, 9, and 10. And then like 7, 6 are kind of like 7, 6 are kind of their thing. 5, 4, 3, 2 are kind of like, okay, these are like the big leagues. And then like, here's my number 2 spot down here, and number 1 is like, all the way up here.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so wild.
The only other card that I could say that is like exists right now that you could say is on par with how good this thing is like Radiant Greninja.
Yeah, probably. Radiant Greninja exclusively.
That's like the only other card that I would put like on the level of Serendipity of like how good the card truly is. And Radiant Greninja isn't even nearly as busted, I feel.
Not even close.
Serendipity.
Only
it's very close.
It is close. That's a good question, actually.
The only reason I don't think it's quite as busted is just because Radiant Greninja still means that you have to choose between Radiant Greninja and something else.
That's true.
If you
wanted Radzard, you can't have Greninja.
Yeah. If Charizard could choose to have Radiant Greninja and Radzard in the same deck, even with Radiant Greninja working against its like low energy count, I feel like Charizard would still be okay with having a Radiant Greninja like one of in the deck.
Yeah. Like, I'd like to draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, the fact that some decks will put Radiant Greninja in and never plan to attack with it is crazy good.
Most decks, in fact.
Yeah, most in fact. And the ones that do attack with it are insanely good.
You should be so scared of those decks.
Very good. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that concludes our top 10 Pokemon cards of 2024 list. That's really sick. Wow. That's a really solid list from both of us. I think it's cool that we had a little bit of different stuff. If you're watching at home and you have a different top 10, leave it in the comments. Tell us we're wrong, or don't tell us we're right. I like that too. But give us your feedback in the comments below. I think there's comments on Spotify now too, so you're more than welcome to leave comments there. But another great place to add comments and questions and concerns is over on the Patreon. Patreon.com/terminalcreations is the home of the N21FM podcast, Patreon, and all that good stuff. Subscribing, again, will directly support this podcast. It will help us to get some more equipment. Hopefully, maybe at some point, even like, and far future, maybe at some point get like a proper studio space so that we could also do some tabletop games, and just like overall help improve the quality of the show. Especially because at the moment there is not I plan very strictly on never running ads or sponsorships on this podcast. Everything will be funded by the Patreon and just my own will to sacrifice my budget. So your support over there means the absolute world to us. It's $5 a month. You can throw us a pack. I think we can agree on that. I think you can give us 1 pack of Pokemon cards a month. We'll split it for sure. Absolutely. I want the energy that's hollow, and we'll be okay.
Hit the pheasant hippity right down the middle.
For sure. Oh yeah, rip that thing in half. We're good. But yeah, that is wonderful, and it is also where we will be hosting the N21 Plus podcast, which we're gonna go record right now. You could be listening to that. You could get another like 45 minutes to an hour of extra content. All you gotta do is just slide us $5. Thank you very much. This has been N21FM, and we will see you next time.